Guten Abend, Kinder. How's everybody doing tonight? It's me and Breezy. Always got to point in the wrong direction. Joining you tonight.
I do that too. I'm like, oh, there.
I'm like,
back here.
well, on my screen, you're over here on this side of my screen. So, how's everybody tonight? Thanks for joining us for another fun edition of our Paranormal World. We're going to be talking about the original Area X, for those of you that are familiar with it, the Bigfoot research that went on there, and some of the weird things that happened. I've talked about it on a few other shows, but I get comments where people are telling me that I need to talk about it a little bit more. So we'll jump into that. We'll jump into that, and we'll jump into the crazy things that I've experienced just researching across the U.S. and Colorado, Washington, Northern California, all of those places. So we're just going to, and then Joe and I are just gonna talk like we do.
Like we do.
And we've got a cool show for you guys tomorrow over on Breezy's channel. Yes, all right. Yeah. Breezy Speakeasy. You want to tell everybody what's going on there?
So we're gonna do a Friday Fright Night, but it's not really gonna be necessarily about just scary stuff. We're gonna have Richard Woody on as well. We're gonna dive into the past a little bit, go back in time, and dig into the 80s and 90s and stuff we used to get into, stuff we used to love about the era. Of course, that's going to come with, ghost stuff and what was your favorite snacks back then, from everything from riding Huffies to, coming home when the streetlights come on. But it's just going to be a cut loose show. We're just going to dig it back to our past and, how we saw the world back then. And one of the things I wanted to touch on is freaking VHS, the covers, because
yes.
The artwork is what got you. You didn't even have to know what the movie was about or even care. But yeah, so but we're gonna dive all into it. We're gonna
have to. Yeah, we'll have to grab a couple of VHS that I still have from the 80s for some movies, because I've got the Howling VHS tape. Right, with the scratch, because The Howling's like one of my favorite horror movies. And then I'll see if I can find my VHS of The Resurrected, which is one of my favorite horror movies that very few people know about.
It's really weird about The Howling, just not to get off on it right now, but they literally called it The Howling, and they only put the scratch part on it because they didn't want people to think it was a werewolf movie.
But it is a werewolf.
Yeah, but they didn't want to because they had American Werewolf in London kicking in at the time, right before that. So they were like, oh, we don't want to make people know that it's a. And I'm like, what about the word The Howling and claw marks coming through makes you go, oh, that couldn't possibly be a werewolf movie.
We're gonna have to queue up the original trailer for it, because the spots for it made it clearly a werewolf movie. Like, exactly. Clearly it was a werewolf movie. So that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Scratching.
But yeah, so it's gonna be a blast, because we're all from the same, Monica and Woody and myself, we're all about the same age, and those are just great times, and we're gonna touch down on it. And for some of y'all that were there at the time and don't, or ones that don't know, now you gotta know. If you don't know, now you know.
That's right. Oh my God.
What? You get a bat? Is there a bat up there?
No, I kept hearing this weird clicking noise, and I'm like, what is that? What is that? My roof is leaking. Like, there is serious water damage, like, dripping out of my ceiling right now.
That's no bueno per nada.
And Chris is in South Carolina for another 2 days. I have to go up into the attic. I don't want to go up into the It's freaking me out. Like, now I think my ceiling's going to cave in. because that is serious. Oh my God. Okay, sorry.
I bet you. Is your AC unit up in your attic?
Well, my actual AC units are outside, but there seems to.
The compressor's usually up in the attic, and what happens is it has a drip pan, and
The
the
drip
little
pan.
line
I bet it's clogged. Yeah.
the line will get clogged. Yeah.
Shit. Okay. Sorry. Sorry to get off on that tangent. That just freaked me out. Like there's this giant wet spot, like right at my one of the vents in my ceiling.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. No, that happened to me probably almost 10 years back, and it was dripping like every time it would rain, and I was like, man, I'm done with it. And I didn't have the money at the time to do anything about it, as I hesitated so long that we had a really big rainstorm come through, and it opened up a huge, like 3-foot hole in my roof.
Oh my gosh.
And this is how bad I let it go. You could see sunlight coming through, and there was plants growing out of.
Oh my gosh!
You see greenery growing out of my ceiling. I was like, "That's not
no." Yeah, I'm sending a picture of it to Chris right now. This would be like, we need to call somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Breezy. Sorry, everybody.
No, you're good.
That's kind of an emergency.
Yeah, that definitely dictates. I got a little bit bigger thing to do right now.
Yeah, we might have to cut this short because I might have to call my HVAC sub to be like, what the F do I do here? Somebody said go live while going up into your attic. Yeah. You follow me. Yeah, I don't want to go up there, not because I'm afraid of the attic. I don't want to go up there because it's like 500 degrees in my attic.
Exactly. I don't have an attic, so that I had little to no protection because I have not a mobile home, but a manufactured home. So there was nothing in between the ceiling and.
Oh my gosh! Right? I mean, there's definitely something in. I mean, we have a home warranty that we pay for, right? Where they'll come out and do like repairs and stuff.
Oh, well, then yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah,
take care of that.
I just got to call them immediately, and I really don't want to have to turn off my AC units because screw that. It's August. I ain't doing that.
It's gonna Texas,
right? Just gonna have to put like a bucket or something under there and hope that the drywall holds until tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I let mine go for like almost 6 months before it finally, went, all right, no more.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll try to ignore this dripping sound, and hopefully it's not going to damage my hardwood floors because it's been dripping all day, I'm sure. Yeah. And then
just assess the damage. Yep, sure enough.
Freaking me out. Yeah, there's water damage on my hardwood floors now. Oh, that's what it's fun. It's fun. Home ownership is super cool, especially when your house is well over 100 years old.
Yeah, adulting sucks.
It does. Adulting does suck. If there's any HVAC people in the Dallas-Fort area. Oh, anyway, okay. So let's talk about Area X. All right, which is there's my cat. Which is it was a research area, right, that the TBRC had. Like 2007-ish. I want to say is when we first started going out there. And it was a really cool piece of land. I don't know how many people know about it, but it was in southeast Oklahoma. And it was a place that we were at and I'm totally guessing because I can't remember the exact dates, but we were there like roughly 5 years. And it was interesting because it was a privately owned like parcel of land in the middle of BLM, right? So this family that we got in touch with that gave us access to it had this in their family for generations. They had old homesteads. There were all kinds of really cool things like out there. And we found the original grave sites at one point of the two people that like founded the whole little thing that first settled there. And they were actually really pretty cool. Hold on. So the whole area was pretty creepy. And honestly, it took four-wheel drive. You can't just drive a car in there. And it was probably an hour and a half off of any kind of major road, right? So you had to go behind a couple of locked gates that we had keys to, or we had combinations to get to. So it wasn't easy to access at all. Like not all of our vehicles could get there. So we had this one area where you could get a vehicle too. And then everybody who had like four-wheel drive would just kind of ferry everybody else down into the area for research. And it was surrounded by creeks. I want to say there was more than one creek. But man, the geography was so cool because, it's all limestone up in there. And if you've ever been up in the Kiamichis in Oklahoma, like the limestone as it naturally erodes off of cliff faces and whatnot comes in like square. It almost looks like it's carved because it naturally just falls off in these squarish blocks. And, there was one creek that was super cool because the water had eroded into this flat rock. So the creek was running like in the rock. It was so cool because you could sit on the edge and stick your feet down in the creek. And there were all these little fish in there that would swim around you. It was a really cool place.
Little minnow things. Yeah.
Yeah. And you almost got like one of those weird Korean minnow, like pedicures. Right. They would come and just like nibble on your toes and your legs. It was interesting.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because that creek that I talk about when I was a kid in Austin, it's limestone, and like I was saying, it does. It's weird how it comes off in almost perfectly square blocks, like whenever it falls down the cliff sides. And they had those two little minnowy things that would nibble at your toes.
They're pretty cool. I'm gonna put y'all on hold for just one quick second.
Go for it.
Sorry about this.
So what's up, chat? How y'all doing tonight? See, Ristel's in the house. Kimberly,
yep.
Pancho.
Sorry about that, y'all. I had to open the door so my cat would shut up. So yeah, I mean, it was a really cool place. Like I said, it was pretty remote. When we went out there, I would go for like a weekend at a time, but I want to say that it evolved into these week-long, like research outings where I think people would sign up and they'd rotate in and out for a week. And I did participate in one of those, and I can't remember if I was there for the whole week or not. This was towards the end, and I might have already left the TBRC at that point. I can't remember. But
what's TBRC stand for?
So it stood for Texas Bigfoot Research Center.
Oh, okay.
Right. And it started out as just a group of people, and then the board of directors, which I was a part of, we turned into a 401c3, right, a nonprofit. And then they eventually, after I left the group, they reorganized into the NAWAC, which is the North American Wood Ape Conservancy, I want to say. Something, I can't remember what the last word is, but
it
is, yeah. It was long, and that's what they are now. And I really don't have a lot of interaction with the group because most of the people that I was involved in the TBRC with that then, pushed it off into the NAWAC, they've left. And, somebody in the chat asked me, why do I know? I don't know why they're jumping ship. And
I know this one.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. But people get tired. Yeah. I mean, people get tired. I mean, you're involved with something for so long. It gets tiresome. Or, maybe the organization is moving in a direction that you're just not comfortable with. I mean, I'm completely speculating. I have no idea why they're choosing to go off on their own. But yeah, so that's the evolution of the TBRC, right? So it started in like 2000, I want to say, with Craig and Jiminy Cricket. I forgot the guy's name. I can see his face. I know. I'm trying to. Jiminy Cricket.
I haven't heard that in so long.
Dude, I say that. I say cheese and rice when I'm trying not to cuss. So
Jen says cheese and crackers. Cheese and crackers.
Cheese and crackers. I say cheese and rice. Cheese and rice. And Jiminy Cricket all the time. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. And I was in the TBRC from like 2002 through 2010, like sometime in 2010. So I was in it for a while. I was on the board of directors, like I said. And I mean, it was a cool time. It was a cool time. I got to meet a lot of really cool people and got to go do some really cool things. But Area X, specifically what we're talking about, like I said, is a pretty remote thing. And I know a lot of people want to hear really cool, like crazy stories that come out of there. But to be honest with you, I mean, like with any kind of Bigfoot research, it's boring 99% of the time. Like 99% of the time, paranormal research too, you are not always going to get something. And with this type of cryptid research, like you're out there and, there might be some weird shuffling. There's very few times you're going to have something happen that you cannot like just fully explain, or you can't chalk up to something being, I don't want to say a hoax because I don't want to imply that like any of the team would have been doing that, because I don't think they would have. But when you hear like weird things, now we were like pretty deep in the woods, but we weren't far from some ATV trails, because there were times when I was up there, I'd hear people on trails with ATVs. And now, granted, sound travels pretty far. If you're in a valley, it can bounce around, but there were people there. And the craziest thing that happened to me there was the weekend that we had a camera crew with us, right? So we had been tapped on the shoulder to potentially do a TV show. It happened. It was shockingly common for like casting companies and, people trying to get things off the ground to tap somebody. But anyway, this time there was the core group of us. It was some of the directors, and one or two members went up there to film a sizzle reel. And for those of you who don't know what a sizzle reel is, it is where the production company will take you out and they'll try to shoot scenes and like kind of piece together almost like a trailer for whatever it is they're trying to promote to the networks, right? So they wanted to get some action footage of us up there. They wanted to get pictures of the terrain, kind of get to know the people that they wanted to be part of the show. So we were there like 3 or 4 nights. It wasn't very long, but that is some of the craziest like activity that I personally experienced. Now, some of the other members might have had other things happen to them, but for me personally, that was like one of the trippiest weekends, because I saw all kinds of things. Like I saw probably more actual paranormal things than I saw like cryptid things or potentially cryptid things, which was interesting because I'd never like up there had any kind of weird paranormal experience until this point. So the first thing that happened was the first night that everybody was there, the camera crew made it down in there. And this is a funny story, and it's not spooky, but this is funny. So the camera crew, or the production crew, I should say, consisted of like 2 or 3 women. You know, it was a cameraman, like 2 cameramen, a sound man, a field producer, and I think that was it. I think the girl was one of the sound people. The field producer was a woman, and then a couple of dudes. So they rented this. They rented like a Suburban, like the biggest freaking vehicle you could imagine. And like I said, it wasn't easy to get in there. Like we had to stage our regular cars there and take 4-wheel drive in. And that better be like your ranch truck you're taking in there. Cause there were some times when you'd be like kind of ping pong, like bouncing off of tree trunks as you're, you know, sliding down the side of this mountain. And they hauled, I don't know how they did it. They hauled this big ass Suburban all the way in to the like base cabin area, because there were 3 cabins there on the property, and there was one big one that we all kind of stayed at. And by the time they got it there, they had like ripped the bumper off of it. Like it had dents in the side of it, and I was like, oh, somebody ain't getting their deposit back. The network's going to be paying for a new Suburban. But anyway, that alone was funny. But we get there the first night. I can't remember if we hiked that day, but the first night, you know, we were breaking up into groups, right? We were all at the main cabin, and Chris and I were going to go stay at cabin. Let's say the main cabin is cabin A. So we were going to go stay at cabin B, which was surrounded by we called it a bear fence. I'm pretty sure that's what it was for, because there were a crap ton of bear up in those mountains. Like Joe was surprised to hear that there were bear up there.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought they were like, oh, no, Tennessee, Kentucky, we're stopping here, staying north.
It's the border I can't cross. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, there are a ton of bear up in there. We've got like video evidence of it. But anyway, we were going to go sit on this porch of cabin B inside the bear fence to, you know, just listen and see, you know, what could go on. And at this point, we were trying really hard not to use white lights, right? We were always trying to use red lights, something that wouldn't kill our night vision. I mean, I don't want to say give us away, because honestly, anything that lives in the woods knows you're there before you know you're there. Yeah. Yeah. So you're not fooling anything. I don't care how much scent killer you put on, you ain't fooling anything. And anyway, so Chris and I were going to go sit at this cabin. And that cabin sat at the base of a mountain. And we had another member kind of camped out at the top of the mountain. And then from cabin B, you could continue straight along the creek. And we had another member camped out on the creek just farther out from cabin B. And on the way to go, you know, set up for the night, it was dusk. So it was, you know, it was gloaming. So it wasn't quite like dark. There was still enough light to see clearly, but it was not bright, right? And it's a pretty narrow, like, goat path, essentially, like just a little trail worn in the woods between the 2 cabins. And right before you get to cabin B, there was a grass clearing, and then the fence, and then the cabin. So Chris is ahead of me walking, and I don't know what made me look. I don't know if it was movement. I don't know if I had a weird feeling. I just remember looking to my left, which would have been west, I think, because that's, you know, roughly where the sun was going down at. And this thing, this shadow thing that I've seen only one other time in my life, and it looked exactly the same, just comes moving out of the brush. And I don't know what these things are. I don't. But it's definitely paranormal. They're rectangular in shape. I want to say they're maybe like 3 feet by 2 feet, right? Kind of rectangular shape. They're a dark gray, misty color, like translucent, but not like complete, like semi-translucent. Like it looks solid, but you can see through it, right?
Right.
And these things, both times I've seen it, they're moving like in a solid direction, same clip, moving at the same pace, never speeds up, never slows down, doesn't care what's in front of it, just is moving, like just moving. And it's moving at like a pretty good pace. And I see it and I stop because I'm like, holy shit. And this thing crosses the path between Chris and I, and it's so close to Chris. I swear, I thought that I thought it went through the heel of his boot, because I remember looking at it on the path, and he's taking a step and he's lifting his left or his right leg up to take the next step. And, you can bend your foot back, and it like crossed either right by the back of his foot, or it crossed into the heel of his boot. And never slowed down, never sped up, just like before, just keeps going at the same pace off that direction. And that, I just remember thinking, oh shit. Like, oh shit, that can't be good.
Yeah.
It can't be good. Like, why is that here? Like, why is that here? The last time I saw it was in Dallas, like crossing the freeway. I was coming up, but it was the same time of night. It was that kind of like, gloaming, like twilight, right?
Yeah.
And it was doing the same thing. It was crossing between me and the car in front of it, and I thought it was a dog coming at me, just like my dog man sighting, right? You see movement, you look, and you're like, oh, shit, it's a dog. And I was like, oh my god, I don't want to see a dog get killed on the highway, right? Because it was like running for the road, because it moves at a pretty steady clip. And then I realized, like, it's a rectangle of smoke is what it looked like. And it just like crossed between me and the car in front of it. And I could see the car's bumper through it,
right.
Because I had my headlights on. And it just kept going off, crossing the other lanes and off into the darkness or whatever, the gloom. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was thinking, what the hell was that a ghost? I don't even know what that was. Like, I don't know what that was. I still don't know what that was. Seen it twice now in my life, have no clue. So that was the first like creepy, weird thing that happened. And then Chris and I are set up on this porch, right? Darkness is fully set on. We have flashlights, but we're not using them. And we're behind the bare fence. And the property is interesting because the back part, it's squared, right? It's squared back here against the mountain. The sides come straight out like you would expect, but then it kind of angles, like the corner of the property, like does this weird, like, I don't know how to describe it. It does this weird, it's not a perfect square. It's like this, like in the corner. And Chris realizes that he forgot a piece of equipment, right? And he's like, well, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go back to the cabin and get it. And I'm like, oh, do it to you, man. So I'm sitting there by myself in the dark on the porch of this cabin. And the cabin itself, like, I wouldn't go into it. There was some like funky vibes going on in the cabin. And I just remember like, I ain't going past this porch, because I'd been there before. And I'm sitting there in the dark, no big deal. Done it a bajillion times. And I hear this whispering starting, and it's not a windy night. It's not like the trees are like blowing in the wind. It's pretty still night. And it's multiple voices whispering in the far corner of the property, but definitely inside the fence line. So inside the fence that only has this one gate, entrance and exit, that Chris just walked out of and closed behind him. And all I can hear are 3 very distinct voices. There were definitely 3. And they were like, I mean, it was like you could hear them talking, but you couldn't understand what they were saying. And in my mind, I could just picture like this group of 3 people like stand like huddling in a circle, like whispering like amongst themselves. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, it was like witches. But anyway, like that was crazy. Like I hadn't heard it before there, and I'd been there many, many times at this point. Had never heard it again, the times that I'd been there since. And I just remember, like, I almost like turned the flashlight on, but then I was thinking, nah, I mean, I saw that weird smoky thing. It's ghosts. There's something over in the corner. I don't need to see it. I'm better off. I don't need to see it.
Raise the sheets.
Yeah, I mean, if I had sheets, I'd have been like, like, what's going on? But yeah, so that continued on for like 10 or 15 minutes until Chris, eventually wandered back. And, he's freaking the Munsters. Like, what's his name? The
Herman
dad
Munster.
Munster. Huh?
Herman Munster.
Munster. Yes, he's just like stomp, stomp, stomp. He's not stealthing up on anybody. Like I could hear him. So it stopped, right? It faded out, died down, stopped. The whispering stopped. So I'm telling him, I was like, dude, like I heard like people in the corner, like whispering. I'm sure I sounded completely insane. And he was like, well, I don't hear anything now. So
yeah, of course not.
Of course not. Of course, it's all in my head, I'm sure. So then we sat on that porch for a little while longer, and then we were hearing this low, like rumble, right? This rumbly low sound. It sounded almost like when you hear like jets, or not jets, but a plane flying really low, that right? Or like a big cat, but it just kept going. And I was like, there's no planes flying over. And I was like, there's got to be that's when I did turn the lights on, because I was like, there's got to be a panther like right here. But why is it purring? Why is the panther purring?
Yeah, more like a vibrational type of sound.
Yeah, I mean, it was very bassy, just and it kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting, but it would go on for like a couple of minutes at a time. Where like if it was a plane, it would have been long gone. We would have heard it coming and leaving. It was like constant. So I turned the light on. I'm looking up in the trees. I'm looking down. I'm looking around the porch, in case something, I don't know how it would have jumped over the bear fence somehow, because that fence was like 10 feet high. And so I didn't see anything, but it kept going on. And I was like, this is a creepy effing night. I don't know what's going on here. But it was definitely creepy. And so this same weekend, and the nights blend together, so I can't tell you what was the first night or the third night. But I mean, there was something going on in those woods that weekend. And I don't know if it was just the time of year. Like we just happened to stumble upon a date where things are naturally occurring there. We just hadn't been there before when it's going on. Or if it was going on because, like, normally I'm the only girl on these trips. And this time we had a lot more women. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. But one of the nights, we were all asleep in the big main cabin, right? Except for, I want to say the guy up on top of the mountain camped out there. And then our friend who was farther past cabin B was camped out there. He had his dog, who was a blue heeler, and she was the best dog. Oh my gosh, I loved her. She was so well trained. Like, she would, if he told her to stay, she would stay. Like, he could drive away in his truck and she wouldn't move. Like, she was the best dog. But one night we're all asleep in this big main cabin, and one of the cameramen was asleep on the front porch, right? And he comes up into the loft to wake us all up, because the loft was like a big bunk kind of area with a ton of beds. And he's like, hey, you guys, I just want to let you know that Spec showed up without her owner, which was weird. Like, she would never just walk away from him. But she was like because there was like a little tiny like gate and pissant fence around the main cabin. It wasn't anything like the other fence. And she was trying to get like up onto the porch with him, which was really weird because she wasn't, a fraidy cat, so to speak. And so we all got together and we grabbed her and walked her. Well, not all of us, maybe 4 of us, threw our pants on and our boots on and hauled the dog back over to his camp. And he was like, I thought she was just out nosing around. I didn't realize she went back to the cabin, and got you guys. He's like, everything's cool. I haven't had anything weird happen here. So then we leave her with him and we all go back and we're all settling in. And maybe half an hour, 45 minutes later, she's back at the cabin with us again. So she left him again and came back to the cabin. So I couldn't figure out, and it is so out of character for her to just abandon him because she was such a loyal and well-trained dog.
Right.
It was odd because I couldn't figure out if there was something in the cabin she wanted to like alert us to, like she wanted to be at the cabin because there was a threat at the cabin, or if she was wanting to get the hell away from that campsite.
Right.
Because there was something at that campsite. And
or safety in numbers type of thing. Like,
or she just screw that. I don't want any part of this BS. Like, I'm loyal, but I ain't that loyal. So we couldn't figure out why, because I want to say we took her back again and again. Like, I think the 3rd time she showed up at the cabin, we just let her come up on the porch and we were like, screw it. She's sleeping here, I guess. And then the scariest thing that happened that weekend. So Brian and I, and he used to have a podcast, so he's spoken about this, so I'm comfortable using his name. So Brian and I, we were going to walk to the homestead, right? And kind of check it out. But then something happened and I was like, well, it's going to take, I want to say the walk was like 45 minutes. It was already like 1 a.m. I was like, dude, it's 45 freaking minutes. I can't, like, I'm already tired, man. I ain't walking in the dark for an hour and a half. So, we did end up, somebody said they heard something, either the guy on the top of the mountain or the guy in the farther camp said, I hear something clacking around in this wash that ran alongside of cabin B, down the mountain into the actual creek alongside cabin B. And it was a natural wash, right? Just from rainwater and whatnot coming off the mountain. And it was full of like rubble. It was full of rocks, like pretty big rocks. And we were like, okay, well, we'll go. Brian and I will go check it out. Right. And so we're getting ready to walk over there. And one of the other members was like, are you armed? And I'm like, well, I've got my K-bar, but I don't really carry a gun. Yeah, I didn't. Because, if I'm going to kill something, I want to kill it up close. So anyway, I was like, no, I'm not packing. And he's like, okay, well, I don't want you to go anywhere without a firearm. I mean, he was definitely not going to let me go to the homestead without one. And I was like, fine. I didn't bring my gun. I have one. I just didn't bring it. And he's like, okay, well, you can use one of mine. So he strapped on this revolver that he had. So he puts it on my belt, right? He puts it on my belt as a cross draw. Well, if I've got guns on my hips, I don't cross draw. I just pull up, right? I don't reach across to pull, which is, I just don't. So I'm not used to that. So I'm thinking, whatever, dude, just strap your gun on me. Let me go check this out. So he gets it on me. Brian and I are walking over to this wash. We walk behind the bare fence of the cabin. So we're walking between the bare fence of cabin B and then maybe maybe 15, 20 feet, the mountain just starts shooting up. And we're there in the summertime. So it is thick in there. And we were kind of skirting the fence. We get down to this wash and we're looking up and down and we're listening, and we don't see or hear anything. And we're like, okay, so we radio back and we're like, we don't see or hear anything. You know, we're going to come back. So we're like, nothing's here. We turn on our white lights because I don't want to trip and break my neck. And we're just talking. We're just shooting the shit, talking like, you know, we're talking right now, not trying to be stealthy or anything. And we get about halfway down that fence line in the back, and I hear something up the mountain, a little bit up the mountain. And I stop and I'm like, do you hear that? There's something walking around. It's paralleling us up the mountain. And I shine my light up there, and Brian shines his light up there. And when we shine our light up there and we start talking, whatever it was stops and then starts beelining it straight down the mountain towards us. And yeah. And I'm like, go. So we like hustle it to the edge of the fence, and it is coming fast down this mountain. Like you can see the foliage like parting. Yeah. I can't see what it is. I just see, you know, like leaves and brush like parting. And Brian's behind me, and I turn around. I'm walking and I'm like, go, 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 because we were getting caught up on bramble. There's a lot of bramble out there, and it had wrapped around my boot, and I was like yanking my leg trying to get it out. And I finally clear it, and Brian's behind me, and I'm like, go, dude. And I just meant like walk faster. So right. I turn around because I don't want to have my back to whatever's coming down the mountain at me. So I turn around to walk backwards, and I put my flashlight up, and he comes blowing by me, right? He's like booking it. I'm like, dude, don't run.
It's going to chase you.
You just screwed me. So I'm like, don't run. I remember screaming, don't run. And he's like, pull your gun. I forgot I had the gun. So I'm trying to pull the gun because I'm not used to a cross draw, right? So I'm grabbing it. Well, the butt of the gun, like the grip is pointing the wrong way. And I'm freaked out because this thing is like still coming down. And I just, because it was Velcroed on, I just grabbed the whole holster and ripped it off the belt and threw the gun because I was so freaked out. And I remember walking backward. Brian's he's like already in the fence at this point. I'm walking backwards, you know, with my gun drawn, and I'm pointing it because I can clearly see where it's coming down, and I'm waiting for it to clear the brush. And I'm like, because I'm not shooting like blindly in the dark.
Right.
If you're responsible, you're not going to do that. So I'm walking backwards with my gun like on like where it's coming down, and it stops at the tree line. It stops at the brush line, like inside of the heavy brush.
Right.
It just dead stops. And then I can hear it walking back and forth. So it's still there. It's like pacing where I can't see it. And I'm walking backwards, and, you know, I've got my gun trained, and I'm freaking out. I'm sure the gun was like, I look like Deputy Fife, right? I'm sure the gun was shaking because the adrenaline dump. And I'm thinking, holy shit, if this thing clears the brush, like if it's a bear, like this gun isn't going to do shit. Like unless I hit it in the snout or the eyes, right. I'm like, and there's not, if it's running, like if it decides to start running, I can't outrun this damn bear. You know, I'm toast no matter what. And then I'm thinking, do I just start shooting, or do I just haul ass into the bear fence? Because if I just start pulling, you know, popping off shots, everybody around me is going to start like lighting up the radio and freaking out. And I don't want to freak people out unnecessarily, but so I finally back up enough to where I can see the gate into the cabin B fence. And Brian's like, get in the fence. So, you know, I run over there. This thing's, you know, pacing back and forth. And about the time that I got level, like I could just turn and walk into the gate for the property, it starts slowly going right back up the mountain the way it came, right? So it's pacing back and forth, watching me with the gun, and then it goes right back the way it came. So, of course, we closed the bear fence, and I'm like, did you radio anybody? I think I had the radio and the gun for some reason. I had everything. And I was a little preoccupied to be radioing people, telling them what's going on. Yeah. So then, yeah, once I got the gun stowed away, then I called in and I was like, hey, to the guy up on top of the mountain, I was like, something just ran at us and it's coming your way. So keep your eyes and ears out because it's definitely coming up the mountain, definitely in the direction you are. And, of course I called the main cabin and they came out to the area, armed to the teeth. And it was too bad that we didn't have a camera crew with us for that because that would have been some exciting footage actually. But, I forget where they were. They were around somewhere. They might have actually been at one of the remote camps, but it was definitely like the scariest thing that had happened to me up in that area. Now, to be fair and rational, 100% could have been a bear. I mean, we know for a fact there are tons of bear in the area. It could have been a mountain lion, right? It was probably a mountain lion. I heard rumbling at me. I just couldn't find the little bastard. But that was a crazy, crazy weekend, right? I'm hearing whispering. I'm seeing shadow things, some bullshit animal comes bluff charging me.
Yeah, see, like, what comes to my mind is a bear wouldn't just stop at the tree line, like a cat would. I would think, just off of stuff that I've read. But a bear would just be like, well, they don't really give a shit,
Yeah.
So they're just going to charge you no matter what.
Yeah.
But a cat would. Cats are more, was there ever any time that you thought you had like a height perception on it? Like, no. Was there a moment when you were like, hey, it looks to be about yay high because it's not moving taller stuff, it was moving lower stuff?
Well, it was hard to tell because it's a pretty steep slope and there's trees and tall brush. So all I saw was like the trees, well, not the trees, but the taller brush, like separating. So, I mean,
so it had to be significantly tall.
Right? Yeah.
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 Yeah. So now we saw a Squatch.
Well, I mean, I was trying to be rational. I was like, it could have been, I guess. I mean, that's the whole reason we're up here.
I mean, unless it was because the cats, they do move in the limbs, they'll actually, but you saw the brush move too. So that means from 3 to 4 feet high, it was moving stuff and not just staying in like the limbs of the trees.
So my thought was initially I thought it was a bear, right? I'm like, it's a bear, right? Because they're huge. Oh, well, not huge, but they're bigger than mountain lions typically. It's moving the brush. It's not being quiet. I would think a cat would be a lot more stealthy than that because this thing didn't give a shit if we heard it or not. I mean, it was like a bulldozer coming down the mountain.
But bears are also very vocal. Like they'll yell about it,
Well, they'll huff and they'll pop their jaws. All right. So I've been in Washington where I had a bear coming up on my position. I was sitting in the dark on a road and I could hear him kind of far off. Right. And I heard the snuff. Right. But then he was popping his jaw and I'm like, okay, well, he's pissed off at something because they pop their jaw when they're aggravated. And then it got a little closer and he'd whoof, and then pop, pop, pop. And then he'd come closer. And I told my friend, like, get in the truck because we were sitting on the tailgate. She didn't hear it. I was like right on the edge of the tree line. So I was hearing it a lot easier than she was. And I was like, just get in the goddamn truck. Just get in the truck. So this thing didn't do that, right? This thing didn't huff or pop or, the noises that they make. I didn't hear any of that, which, because I was kind of, and I still do kind of, oscillate between cat, bear. I mean, the rational side of me is like, it's one of those two. I'm reluctant to say it was a Sasquatch of any kind, just because I feel like you have to be rational first.
Right. It was Breezy on a bender. I was all sleeping out in the woods. I was like, what's going on down there? I bet they have whiskey.
I mean, yeah, all right. The bears, I mean, somebody said if it was a bear, why would it stop? Bears do bluff charge and they do stop. They will come hauling ass at you and then turn away at the last minute. But typically they turn away. They don't sit there and go back and forth. So, I mean,
right. But they also don't care about a tree line either. I mean,
yeah, exactly. It would have cleared the tree line. And that's what I was terrified. I was like, the minute that thing clears the tree line, I have to shoot. Like, I have to shoot. Yeah. And yeah, the whole thing was weird. There's a lot of, it could have been this, it could have been that. It's got characteristics of this and that.
So this area, like if you dialed it back to history, is there any weird stuff that went on there, like pre-Bigfoot investigation area, like in like Civil War days? Or
yeah, so it's not terribly far from this story that I'm sure a lot of people have heard, where, and I'm gonna butcher the shit out of it, like they're like back in like cowboy times, right? There were this tribe, right, that lived out there. Not uncommon, right? It's Oklahoma. Well, their children and their, I want to say women, were being abducted and eaten. They were being killed by this group of cannibals.
Right.
And this posse, and gosh, this is where I'm going to butcher it, because I know the story like in a very broad view. Like, so there's we'll call them Bigfoot. There's this group of like mean Bigfoot that are kidnapping the native youngins and women and eating them, killing them. And this posse of guys show up and go out and do battle with this thing. These things, I think there were multiple of them, and I want to say they were in a cave, and end up killing them. And that story's supposed location is not terribly far from where we were. So, yeah. You've got a lot of those kind of things, right? In the area. There's just general Sasquatch reports coming out of the area too.
Well, yeah. And you combine that with, because they have a lot of those, like, especially in Nevada, the Squatches or whatever, taking the women. And like you said, there was an abundant amount of women at the time that you went, so it could have been like, hey, we need, maidens, so to speak,
pheromones.
the litter's getting thin. We need to up our population a little bit.
Right. I mean, that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was my creepiest experience out there. Now,
they just didn't know that you would be down to shoot them cross-armed and throw snakes at them. They just didn't know. They didn't know their enemy very well.
That's hilarious, because I think it might have been that trip where I was. Is that trip or the one after that where? Yeah, I was getting ready to go on a hike and I had a walking stick with me, and I walked up on this, like, we're under a canopy, so it's kind of dappled sunlight coming down, and I see this, looks like a freaking cow pie, like right, like there. Like, there's no trail that we're following, because we're like cross country in it. There's no like marked trail. We're just hoofing it. And I'm like, I looked up at the guys and I was like, do they free range cattle up here? Like, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, legit, like, I don't remember hearing cattle, but doesn't mean they weren't here at some point. And I'm looking, I was like, that looks fresh. And I walk up and I've got this big ass walking stick and I poke it, right? Because I'm like, trying to figure out how old it is. It was a goddamn cottonmouth. That thing uncoiled and slithered away. And I am so lucky that it did not just strike.
You're right.
Because I was literally like, the tips of my boots were like right up on it. And I'm like, what's this?
What the heck is that?
How fresh is that cow pie? Yeah.
There, that's a snake.
And then it uncoiled and slithered away. And I was like, I'm done with this hike. I am done. It's just like a bad start. It was a bad start. I was like, I'm bowing out of this hike. I'm going to, because I've hiked it 100 times. I mean, there's a picture of me that I have on my Facebook page somewhere where I'm jumping across a stream. That's in Area X. And I'm jumping across the stream because there's a cottonmouth in the stream, like under the water, like it had its mouth open.
You've done so many cool sound effects during this episode. You did the whispers and the guttural growl, and now
the snake.
Awesome.
Should have been a Foley artist, right?
I'm gonna have to take sound bites off of this.
So the other time I was up there that something strange happened was a while after this previous event that I described. So I'm up there with a group, and it was during one of those week-long research outings, and we were at a different cabin this time. We were at the third cabin. We were at cabin C, which is a little farther away from the other two cabins, snuggled up a little closer to the mountain than cabin B. And I was there for a week. And, at this point, there had been a lot of group members claiming to have seen things crossing the trail in front of them, or at one point, one of them relayed a story where, they were looking at a bunch of deadfall, right? A bunch of logs laid out. And he was, it was the same time of night that, I started my last story. It was kind of that twilight time, right? You can still see, it's just not like bright middle of the day. And where these logs had fallen was kind of shadowed, right? And he just remembers thinking, oh man, he was counting the logs because he was thinking, I need to cross over these? Can I get over them or around them? And then somebody was talking to him, and he turned around and was talking to the person or yelling back at somebody. And then he turned back around and he was looking, and it was missing a log. Like one of the logs wasn't there anymore. Mm-hmm. So he was thinking, it was one of the Bigfoot, laying down trying to look like a log, and then hauled ass, and he turned around or walked off for whatever reason. But there were things like that going on, right? People were claiming to see a lot of things in and around the area, way more than had been previously reported. And at this point, I think I might have been out of the group. I think I was out of the group, but I knew everybody so well. I mean, I could still go up there. Plus the cabin owner is, it was a good friend of mine. So in the group or not, I could still get up there if I wanted. So, that weekend, I remember sitting around the campfire, and there were a couple of vehicles that made it down. And I remember sitting next to one of the members, and they kept saying, I see something looking over the hood of the truck. And I'm like, this person is sitting like literally right next to me. And I'm looking, and I don't see anything. I see nothing. And they're like, you don't see that? There's eyes coming up over the truck. And I'm thinking, are you on peyote? Like, there's nothing there. And I'm looking, and I get up and I walk towards the truck, and everybody's like flipping out. They're like, don't, you're going to scare it away. And I was like, well, I want to see what's on the other side of the truck. So, I mean, I didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean there wasn't something there, because now I hear all of these, a little more kind of paranormal versions of Bigfoot stories. And I'm wondering, like, just because that wasn't my experience doesn't mean that wasn't somebody's experience. Maybe they were seeing something. Maybe it was something on a vibe, like a frequency I can't see. I don't know. But this person was swearing up and down that they were seeing something playing peekaboo on the other side of the truck. And I was sleeping out in the tent. I wasn't sleeping in the main cabin because it was a pretty small cabin. And I want to say really could only sleep a couple of people, and those bunks were already occupied. So I was in a tent with another researcher. And the last night, it must have been the last night because I don't remember staying in there. And I hated staying in the cabin because it had like an indoor outhouse, and all I could smell was the indoor outhouse. I was like, I'm sleeping in the tent.
Oh, yeah.
So when I think I was already in my cot. So I was already in my cot, like in my sleeping bag, like, ready for sleep. And my tent mate, I think he had to go like do something. I can't remember. He was doing like checking IR cameras. Because we had IR cameras all around this cabin, right? Which, by the way, if anything can see IR, that thing lit up like Fort Knox. I was like, ain't nothing coming up on this damn cabin. But whatever he was checking, he comes in, and I remember he was sitting on his cot, and he'd either just gotten into bed or he was just like, he was taking his boots off, like he was prepping to, like go to sleep. And we hear the unmistakable crack of a tree breaking. And if you've ever heard a tree like naturally like snap and crack and fall, that's what it was. Like, what it is. If you've ever heard it before, you know what it is. And I'm thinking, oh shit. Because it is nearby. It's not like off in the woods. This is close. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get taken out by a goddamn tree up at this point. Because I just remember freezing, thinking, there is nowhere for me. It is pitch black outside. There is nothing. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't know where it's coming from. I mean, I know the general direction, I don't know how tall it is. If this tree is coming down, the cabin might slow it down if it's coming from that direction. If it's coming from over here, coming across, I was just thinking, like, I'm screwed if it comes down. And then we hear it hit, and I'm thinking, okay, well, who didn't hit me? And then I'm worried about the cabin. So, he throws his boots on, I throw my pants and my boots on, and we, run out there with our flashlights, and we're looking around. I'm making sure there's something laying on top of the cabin. But what had happened was, we found out the next morning, a tree on the upward slope behind the cabin had fallen, right? So like I said, it was a pretty steep slope, but this tree didn't fall with gravity. The tree fell against gravity.
Against gravity, yeah.
Yeah, which is weird. Now, if part of it had fallen forward and part of it had fallen, trees, if they're rotted, will snap and go in different directions. Nope, this thing went against gravity. I don't know what caused it to fall. Was it an older tree? Yeah. Was it completely rotted? Didn't look completely rotted to me. And it
I was going to say, because there is a difference between, you can tell the difference between a fresh, like a tree that's alive and fresh snap.
Oh yeah.
And, because it's more of a creak and groan kind of a.
Well, you hear the groaning, and then you hear the loud cracks.
Right.
Yeah. Because a dead tree doesn't crack the same.
Right.
It's duller. It's a duller sound.
Yeah, very much so.
So that was weird. But I mean, the whole week we were there, that's like really it. Like that there wasn't much. And honestly, there just wasn't a lot that went on for me personally. Now, I can't talk about other people's experiences because I know a lot of other researchers that were up there that had some crazy experiences, but those weren't mine. I didn't have that. I just relayed all of the experiences that happened to me there. And it's it's a cool area. It is a very cool area. And I would be interested in doing probably more paranormal investigations there.
That's
Um,
that's what I was thinking. Because
yeah.
you had because if you do the simple math about it, you had first and foremost you had the translucent piece going through. You
Hmm.
had the whispers, right? You had the vibrational hum. You had some form of intelligence that would come out of the tree line to chase
Yeah.
you down, right? So and then so if you start putting all those together, it in my mind it instantly becomes more of an intelligence, b a behind the veil or frequency or dimensional type
Yeah.
of a thing. You know what I mean? So and audio, audio type of it. So disembodied voice type of thing or um, mind speak type of a thing. So you combine all that and it didn't reveal itself to everybody. You know what I mean? So you have individual experiences that might differentiate themselves from each other.
Right.
So is it effing with people's minds differently? You know
See?
what I mean? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going with it. You saw the aliens and included people. You didn't say them.
It was a really, really cool area. Like I wish that we could get back in there just one more time because the old homestead area, for people that like history, right, or
Right.
just are interested in the past.
Right.
So the old homestead had an old like garbage dump site, like where the original like the pioneers were dumping their shit, right? Or the
Right.
original landowners were dumping their shit. And you could kind of like sift through it and find some really cool stuff like old bottles and tins and it was, I mean, that was a cool site. Like I said, the grave markers were bizarre. Something had built like a looked almost like a beaver nest, but I mean, it wasn't in the water, but it had that kind of like stick and twig
See?
configuration, like built over one of the graves. And I just remember looking at that thinking, oh, and that's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, because you think about like especially like the mounds and stuff like especially in Ohio.
Mhm.
There's a ton of that stuff where once you start digging down, it's basically almost like a wooden tomb that just time has grown over so much.
Yeah.
Made out of like trees and fallen branches but a lot of it, not just
Yeah.
like just a few of them fell. No, you can tell it was like either like a shrine type of a thing or a tomb type of a thing. But so yeah, I think you stumbled onto a spot that has way more to do with just grizzlies and mountain lions and shit. But you're blowing my mind from just the beginning because I'm like sitting here going, dude, I've been to Oklahoma. I don't know, God knows how many times. I didn't know there were even mountains in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, Southeast
dude,
Oklahoma.
I'm,
Oh
dude,
yeah,
I'm like, where the hell were these mountains? I never. I'm like, am I,
Coyotes.
am I in a Mandela effect? What the hell is going on here? Because I remember it being flattered.
You must be going up the middle into the west then.
No, I always cruise up the east side because my cousin.
Okay,
He
I'm
lived
calling
up.
them mountains. I mean, we're not talking like what I'm used to out on the west coast. Not those kind of.
Oh
These are
yeah,
Oklahoma
I know
mountains,
it's not like Mount Shasta or nothing like that,
right?
but yeah, but no, I always go up to. Well, when I used to go up to my cousin's, he lives in Pittsburgh, Kansas. So you basically go all the way to the southeast side of Oklahoma and ride it straight up through Tulsa. And I'm like, dude, this is the, it gets flatter and flatter as you get closer to,
well, sure, Kansas.
Or to Kansas, yeah.
Well, yeah, Kansas is the great pancake. I mean,
Yeah.
Nothing. You can see a gopher mound for miles in Kansas.
It's part of my proof of flat Earth. I'll tell you a funny one. This is pretty funny. Totally off the side subject, but we were actually going up there. I was with my ex-wife, and I'm not talking crap, but she's a very gullible person, and so we're going up there. And you know how the trees, they get like those. It looks like spider web or cobwebs around them. It's like a fungus, but
like webworms.
Yeah, like webworms kind of a thing. Yeah, and we're going up there, and I'm like, look at all these trees, and she's like, what is that? And I was like, remember how in because we just got done watching the cartoon from the 70s or 60s version of The Hobbit, and I was like, remember how they had that big giant spider? Well, back in the I was like, back in the day in Middle Earth, they really existed, and they still do, but they're just not as big, and they make these big webs in the trees to catch the birds, and that way they can eat. She's like, you mean we're out here with these big giant spiders? I was like, yeah, but as long as we keep driving, we'll be cool, as long as we don't break down, She's like, you gotta be
there are stories of people seeing like big ass spiders. I don't mean like tarantulas. I mean like the size of dogs.
Yeah. No, there are.
F that.
But then another 50 miles or so down the road, I was like, oh, and you want to know another weird thing? I was like, you know where buffalo wings come from? She's like, yeah, they're chicken wings. I'm like, nah, they're really not. I was like, what it is? And I had like all my friends in the back, so everyone's like kind of like, and I'm like, no, actually, see, buffalo back in the prehistoric days, they used to actually have big wings and they could fly, and they would fly around, and I was like, but as evolution came, they started losing their wings. So nowadays they clip the little buffalo wings. They're like real small. They're like on their back. I was like, and they clip them off, and then that's how they make buffalo wings. And she's like, are you serious? They clip them? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. So by the time we got to Kansas, she's telling my cousin's wife how they were seeing giant tree spiders, and that buffaloes really had wings and shit.
Oh, you were mean. You were mean.
I couldn't know myself.
Some people just ask for it, I guess.
Yeah, it happens.
Man, it happens. So, trying to think other creepy things that have happened to me out in the field. So, I've talked about this before, and it's not so much that something creepy happened while we were there. I mean, something creepy did happen one night while we were there, but the overall feel of the place was definitely off. And I'm talking about the South San Juan Wilderness in Colorado, right? And again, kind of southeast-ish Colorado. We were outside of the town of Platoro.
Okay.
And getting to Platoro is an experience in itself. Like driving in, like I got the creepy feeling. I don't know if you know what I'm talking. Like you get towards
the atmosphere changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that whole road in, I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it's beautiful because, there's like actual mountains and you're at elevation, but just coming in along that river, because feeding into the reservoir there at Platoro, it is the Conejos River. And I'm not sure.
Going?
Like, yeah, what? the whole atmosphere changed just driving in. And so we camp at the trail, or we park at the trailhead. I want to say we camped at the trailhead the first night because we got there so late. And we register at the trailhead. We load up our gear, and then we proceed to hoof our butts right on into the South San Juan wilderness, which, again, gorgeous scenery, gorgeous. But, you know, we thought we would be hiking a lot farther in. Like, I wanted to cross the Conejos and then get up into like Alpine, right? I want to get where there's no trees, right? Alpine areas. There was a lake that I wanted to get us to. But the Conejos River was running real fast and high from snowmelt. And we were there in June or July because I had done all this research. I was trying to find the driest month because I didn't want to get rained on, right? Didn't want to deal with too much shit. I knew we were going to be, you know, forging the river. And I was just trying to, you know, get everything right. And of course, we get to the spot where we're going to cross the river. I got to the pot. Colorado. So I get to the spot where we're going to cross, and it's too fast. Like a couple of guys got across, and they had like a line across to kind of help everybody, but it was knocking people off their feet. Like we couldn't cross it safely for some of the group. So we ended up just camping there for our time. We were supposed to be there a week. I want to say we cut it short like 2 days because even though I did all my research and that was supposed to be the driest month according to all of the records, every day at about 3:00, a thunderstorm would come rolling right on over the top of that mountain. And thunderstorms at 10,000 feet in a tent suck. Scared me just a little. And, yeah. And, you know, it was interesting. So again, the whole place is creepy, right? So we make our camp. We go up the trail a little farther and we get into the wood line. And this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could have been a tornado up there, but we get into the tree line on this trail. And then all of a sudden, maybe 50, 100 yards up the trail, like into the tree line, every tree, I've never seen anything like it before. Every tree was falling over. Like it looked like it had to have been a tornado. Like you couldn't continue down the path because it was blocked by all these felled trees, right? And they're big trees. And I was like, okay, well, we're not hiking up here.
Yep. Nope.
So we're like, okay, this good as good a place as any. Let's set up. So we did some, you know, night investigations where we had people farther up the mountain, you know, maybe at like 11,000 feet. And we were, you know, kind of spread out looking down into our campsite. The river's running along it, kind of, yeah, looking down into it. And our friend's wife stayed in camp. She didn't feel like going up the mountain. I mean, it's 10,000 feet. It's hard enough to breathe. Like nobody wants to hoof it up a mountain. So, you know, we're all sitting here watching camp, and she's certainly asleep at this point. She's the type that goes to bed early. And we see this red light come into our camp, right? And it starts at the far end of the trail, and it's kind of bobbing like somebody's headlamp, right? Bobbing like a headlamp. And we're thinking, oh, that's just, you know, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, like calling it early. Like we had these two dudes in our group who would like go to sleep at, you know, dark 30. So we're like, they just must be calling it an early night, but they should have radioed to let us know they're coming into camp. So we understand, that's not something weird. Somebody's not invading our camp, even though we're out in the middle of BFE, like literally in the middle of a wilderness area. And we're thinking, okay, well, it's weird that there aren't 2 headlamps, but one of them must have, red light on, not kill their night vision, whatever. And this light goes around our camp, right? Doesn't just go to one tent and then disappear. It kind of wanders around camp for a little bit. And then it blinks out. And we're like, all right. So the next morning, like we bring it in. That group did end up coming in, but I mean, I can't remember if it was that night or the next morning. It might have been that night. We were all reconvening in camp. We're like, okay, nothing happened, whatever, let's go to sleep. And we were like, didn't you come into camp earlier with your red headlight on? We didn't see you go back out, because they came in with the rest of us. And they're like, no, we didn't come into camp. That wasn't us. And they were far enough away. They weren't looking down into our camp. They were looking at the trail rather than camp. So yeah, these 2 were like, no, we didn't. That wasn't us. We didn't do that. Wasn't us. And it wasn't our friend's wife because she didn't have a red headlamp. And the light started out on the edge of the trail and came into camp. So I don't know what that was. That was weird because all of us were accounted for. We really did think it was just those 2, but they were like, no, it wasn't us. And yeah, that was really strange. But the whole place, like that whole area, like the vibe was just off. And
but from that distance, it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could have been 2 red glowing eyes that just looked like one.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Add some creepiness to it.
Yeah, that's definitely adding some creepiness.
No, but I mean, really, like, because whenever you start digging into a lot of this stuff, like, you almost kind of can't kick anything out of bed. It's got to, it's definitely like if you just see an illuminated, especially from, like you were saying, a great distance away. If it's, like if you take like Matt Emsh's story where the dog man, the yellow was projecting on the walls, and then it's an actual illumination itself. So yeah, it could have just been one big head looking around and walking,
right,
bobbing up and down.
I mean, it was something definitely walking just from the flow. I mean, it seemed like it was,
right.
From the cadence of it, but.
Ooh.
So that was the only weird thing that happened, other than us just getting dumped on every day at 3. And so we were like, screw this. We're all miserable. We're leaving. Ain't nothing happening. Nobody can breathe. Like if I stand up too quick, like I get tunnel vision. Like I did that numerous times. Like we had to, because we didn't pack water in, right? So we were drawing water out of the Canejos and then we had a gravity filtration system, but then I had the life straws, right? And then I also have this other type of, it's not really filtration. I guess sterilization is the name. It's a UV like pen. So you can get your water out. You obviously filter it as much as you can so you don't have any debris, but then you can use the UV to kill all the bacteria in it. So we were pulling it out of the Canejos, which is fine, but you want to bathe after a couple of days, and let me assure you that snowmelt water is not what you want to bathe in. That's not what I want to bathe in. Right. I didn't even want it poured on me. Okay, so I was taking like the quick wash your parts but not get in the water bath. But I wanted to wash my hair. So I remember like getting my hair wet somehow, but then I told Chris, like, we scooped some water out of the river and we let it sit for a minute. And I said, okay, I'm going to shampoo my hair. I want you to pour the water on my head. Like, I'm going to bend over, just like dump it on my head so I can get the shampoo out. Right. What does he do? He like pours it's like a water torture method, like slowly pours it like
Waterboarding
on my head, but just in one spot. And cold water, if you have never experienced hypothermia or like ice melt water, which I have multiple times, it feels like somebody's got a ball peen hammer is just beating the shit out of like whatever part of your body is exposed to it. And it felt like, because he was only pouring, instead of just dumping it on me or just like pouring it all over, one spot, like,
Right.
and I just remember cussing.
Just ice picking you in the back.
Yeah. It's like, does that feel good? Do you feel clean now?
Is it worth it? Is it worth it?
It's like, it's turn the favor.
It's weird. It's weird now. Like, not to get off the subject, but like the water thing, like, it's so freaking, even if it's not, you get like ice from the ice machine or whatever, it's just so dirty nowadays. Like you leave if you have a cooler and you have ice in it, and once it gets down to water, it starts like molding instantly, even if you don't have anything in there, but other than like beer cans. And I remember back in the day, it didn't do that. It just turned into water. It's like whatever they're, I won't get into it on YouTube, but whatever is going on isn't natural anymore. It's crazy. Because snow used to be the purest, form of water.
Not up there.
Yeah. No, it's not. And nowadays it's like, I don't know if you've seen the videos where people are taking snowballs and they're lighting them on fire and they turn like black and they don't melt.
I have not seen that.
You haven't seen that? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like a charcoal. Yeah, it's weird, man.
That's no bueno, huh?
Yeah, no bueno for nada per caca.
Shit. All right. Well, yeah. So I didn't have any flaming snow. I mean, we did see this really cool ice waterfall on the face of one of the mountains, like closer to the trailhead, because it was south facing, I guess. So it never really, or north facing. It never really got sun, right? So the ice was, I guess, melting slower. But it was really cool because we'd look at it through the binoculars, and it was literally like an ice waterfall. It was so pretty. Like the mountains up there were just amazing. And I kind of want to go back to the area just to see, like, does it really give off that funky vibe, or was I just, I don't know, like in a mood that week? Like, I don't know.
No, I think you probably felt something because, you got to really take into consideration, like, the history of, the lands that we walk across and places that we go to. And, it could hold, I personally believe that, the earth and water, it holds energy, and it holds, it's the same reason why if you go to Gettysburg, people instantly feel stuff a certain way. I think it actually holds it kind of like a hard drive, and a lot of that stuff is ingrained in the territory.
Well, it's in the earth. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I believe 100% like the land itself can be haunted. Like the land, not the structures on it. Like you can burn the house down. You can, raise the barn. But, if that land is messed up, that land is going to be messed up. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. The house, that's how I see it. The house is only quote unquote haunted because they built the house on the land that was already had the energy that it had.
And I think that some land, like, it doesn't even necessarily have to have like bad stuff happen to it. It's just bad land. It's just bad. Kind of like what Stephen King was getting at with Pet Sematary, right? The ground is sour, right? There's just bad places.
Well, yeah, because you do have, it's like just like any magnet, you got negative and positive. So if you're talking like a bad ley line, or it's just a input and an output, negative and a positive, all across checkerboarded across the world, then yeah, you're going to just have parts that are, closer to a negative energy. Could it be like portals or vortexes that shit?
I mean, it definitely could have been there. I mean, like I said, just coming in, like, I can't even just, like, it was just that creepy, just right here, just that, something's not right.
Well, see, yeah, and I lived in Colorado when I was a kid, and I never dug Colorado. Like everyone's like, oh, look at the beautiful mountains, and to me, it was just very, I don't know, almost depressing. Like because they're just big freaking rocks, and then you can go to like the Appalachians or like, the Smoky Mountains, and it's just beautiful green, it's filled with life, but you're gonna get your ass snatched up by a Bigfoot.
If you're lucky, maybe you'll get one of those feral people snatching, get a little wrong turn action going on.
Right. Yeah,
Which that would be an interesting show because there's so many stories about the feral people running around up there.
Yeah, yeah. What was that one? The Blue Kids?
Oh, the Blue people.
Yeah, the Blue people. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that was over in like.
Remember.
Yeah, I think that was over in like Ireland or something, or England or some shit. But yeah, it's
blue-hued people somewhere in Appalachia. I remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. No, Morgan, I haven't been to Colorado since they built that. I was there when I was a kid.
That's an interesting one too. The airport in Denver.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like satanic things that are associated. I've never been into the Denver airport.
Well, it's a lot of Masonic stuff and a lot of end of the world type as far as in the airport.
I remember the horse sculpture being a thing. Like out.
Yeah, it's called Lucifer. The blue horse, and it killed its maker, the dude that actually designed it.
Really?
Yeah, and his son had to finish it off. But what's really crazy about it is not so much the airport itself, but how much of the money that they spent to it, and how much of the underground underneath it that they actually purchased. So it goes on for like miles and miles and miles.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's truck entrances down there where it'll literally tell you like no fuel for 500 miles in this direction.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it's crazy.
That would be another good thing for us to talk about one night is secret societies, because I have been like interested in the Masons for a very long time. Like I'm just very curious about the Masons, but then the Illuminati pop up. You hear about the Illuminati, and you hear so much. Like there's the Illuminati of history, right? Which is kind of just science. And then there's the Illuminati, right, that are trying to rule the world and,
Well, yeah. On the secret societies, though, so, okay, I'll just give it a real quick rundown. If you look on the back of the $1 bill and you got the pyramid, right?
Uh-huh.
So the Freemasons, and then what is it? The Scottish Masons, and then the Illuminati are actually the bottom three of the pyramid, and then it goes up, and then it goes up into, like the Blue Bloods, which is like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and then there's even other ones higher than that. So each one of those levels is supposed to outline each one of these secret societies until you get to the eye, which is, the eye of Lucifer, the eye of Satan. So it's like when we go, oh, the Illuminati, that's like, they would be like the Jawas of Star Wars, they're like, they're not even that hardcore, but they're the only ones that we're allowed to see. So we see them as the hardcore, but
That's very interesting.
Yeah, because the more secret, because it, if you really think about it, though, it can't be a secret society if everybody knows about it. So yeah, we'll give you a little, we'll give you a little bit here, give you a little bit there, but you're not going to see because they're secret. you know, yeah, you're never going to hear about it. You'll never even get that far into the game. And that's why the Illuminati, they talk about the 33rd degree, which is that's whenever you actually become a Mason. You're not really a Mason until then because you're supposedly believe in God, but once you hit the 33rd, rank of the Masons, that's when you realize that the God that they're talking about isn't God, the Creator. It's the Hasatan, or Satan as we know him. Yeah, Mickey G. Jen's grandfather's a Mason, but he's a minister. But it's like they're so low level that they have no idea what's really going on in the background.
Mm.
Kind
of,
yeah, we should get on that one. We should do that.
We should.
And then get kicked off of YouTube. You can't talk about that.
So we can go into that, and then we can go into Eyes Wide Shut and Kubrick
orgies
making that, and then dying kind of suddenly.
Yeah, and they also removed I think what was it, 40 something minutes out of that movie.
Yeah,
they were just like, nope, you're not posting none of that.
That's so because I do believe 100% that that is going down.
Have you ever watched that
on the regular?
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely believe. Have you watched the documentary? Don't get me twisted on it because I can't remember names and numbers all that well, but there's a documentary. It's called Room 227 or what? It's not 227, but it's the room from
The Shining.
The Shining, yeah. But the documentary about that and how it all coincides to the faking of the moon landing and all that.
Really?
Yeah, 213. Yeah, it's called Room 213.
Check that out, stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because the carpet that looks all crazy is literally the pattern of the launching pads. It's a trip, and it's
That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I'll send you a link here.
Down because the Eyes Wide Shut thing. See, I'm gonna have to check that out. But the Eyes Wide Shut thing with Kubrick.
Yeah.
Just watching the movie and not knowing all that Kubrick thing.
Right.
Just the movie itself. The first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, I'm recognizing some stuff.
Yeah.
From things I've done in the past. I'm recognizing some real, actual stuff happening here.
Yeah. Yeah. And they even touched down on, I won't specifically call out the name of the substance, but even in that Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, they touched down on some of that. It rhymes itself with marimachrome. I'll say it that way since we're on YouTube, but yeah, that whole thing is. I was watching this interview with this. She was an abduction victim, and for that purpose, for the high leaders and stuff like that, And she said that they went underground and that they drove for miles, like hours,
Yeah.
and they were driving her for hours and hours, and she was supposed to be like a sacrificial victim, and said that they got to this huge cave, and there was this big entity, and it looked like an angel, and it had like the face of a baby, and it was, the god of this earth, I guess you could say, not the good one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm trying to keep it, censored due to the content, but she ended up getting out of it, and I didn't really think anything about it. And then years later, I was watching when they did the opening ceremony for CERN, right? The Hydrogen Collider,
Uh-huh.
right? And what did they have in that thing? It was like this angel thing with this giant baby face.
Oh
And
man.
I was like, all right, like that's because
I recognize that too.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's a little.
Well, I mean, don't they have, like, isn't Kali, don't they have a statue of Kali out front?
It's Shiva. Yeah,
Shiva.
the world destroyer, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the engineers, they have to do the dance of Shiva before they turn on the whole system. They
That's
literally do like a ritualistic dance.
really?
Yeah. It's in there, literally in their SW SWPs. It's in their standard work procedure. Like it's part of it. Like
There's so much, like, I used to not be a conspiracy theory person, but then I start hearing all this stuff and I see stuff, right? It's not just hearing it, but you see it. And now I'm thinking, good, like, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it's weird because if you chalk it up with a closed mind state, just like you could do with cryptids or UFOs or anything like that, and you go, oh no, it's just an undiscovered ape, or if you go, oh no, that's just the government's secret projects or whatever, then it's easy to close all of these things off, just instantly, and just no, that's just what it is. Like we know, right?
Right.
But if you start adding it all together, then you're starting to see that this world that we think that we had, knowledge of, is really a lot more vast and has a lot more. I wouldn't say quote unquote religious, but a lot more spiritual aspect to it.
Yeah.
And that these things aren't just, this one and done, easily simplified, variations of what we're seeing, but that it all actually ties into this extra dimensional, extra reality that we only see from our little position and our little plateau.
There's so many things I just want to dig into, and I just want to know. I want to know. I don't want to die in the process of learning, but I want to know.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I want to, I want to see what's going on, deep into these things. But I don't, the only way I'm going to get there is if, I'm laying there about to have a knife. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Not interested in that.
Right. Yeah. I just want to go up to the border and peek over.
I just want to look in the window. Well, it's happening. Just be like.
But but that, and then also, because I believe in, whenever they consider it, anything that you go through, educational program, television programs, it's programming, and I fully believe that. So it's like they program us not to believe in fairy tales. Vampires aren't real. Werewolves aren't real,
Yeah, but then, once your eyes are open to things, and some people are just, I don't know if you're just predisposed to see weird things, because I've seen weird things my whole life, right?
Exactly.
Or if because you're at the right place at the right time, it opens you up to it because you saw it. I don't know if it's like a predisposition, or if it's something where, you hit the right vibration where you're seeing something one time and you're attracted to it, or it's easier for you to slide back into that. I don't know.
Right. Well, that and it's also, I think we all experience it. It's how much we've been taught for dismissal about it. Like, no, there's something under my bed. No, there's nothing. Look, I turned on the lights. I went under. There's nothing under your bed.
Yeah.
Could there have been something under your bed? Yeah, but you're taught, not to from a young age.
Yeah. I've seen some stuff when I was a kid. Like, you couldn't convince me otherwise. Like,
yeah, and that's why I believe that firmly. I believe that's why babies, they look at stuff and they talk to stuff that's in the corner.
Oh, heck yeah.
Animals especially. That's why they look in the corner and they start growling.
Oh, heck yeah! Now animals are 100%.
Yeah, because it's not on our spectrum. Because A, we either taught ourselves to block it out at an early age, or B, it's because it's not on our frequency spectrum, our visual spectrum, or audio spectrum.
See, and I always, like, all of my kids, I told them when they were young, like, if you see something, I didn't try to scare them with it, but if they were like, when Lucas was a baby and he told me that he didn't like my closet because of the lady with the long hair that was up on the shelf.
Ooh, yeah.
I was like, there's something in my closet.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the same closet where I heard my oldest son, before he was killed, I heard his voice come from there. Like, he was in his bedroom gaming, which, whatever. But I was making my bed and my husband was, on the other side of across the room on the other side of the bed. We were putting sheets on or whatever. And, I very clearly heard "Mama," because that's what Riley would call me. And it was his voice. Like, he had a pretty deep voice and it was clear. And I remember, and it came from behind me, like in the closet. And I remember looking at Chris and I was like, you heard that, right? You heard that? And he said, yeah, I heard that. And that was, somebody said "Mama." And I was like, I went into it. It creeped me out. So I went into Riley's room and, he had his headphones on and he was gaming. And, I was like, "What's up?" And he took his headphones off. I was like, "Did you call me? Did you call me? Did you say "Mama"?" And he was like, "No." Like playing Halo or whatever the heck.
Right.
Why would I yell "Mom"? So that was weird. That was weird. And anyway, I always told my kids, like, I believe them. If they say they see something, they see something. And if they get freaked out in their room, I'll go through and, do a little cleanse and like kick it out. Like, no, because that's one thing that I'm really protective of is like my space. Like, your energy is not belong here. It ain't hanging out here.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My mom, when I was young, she used to teach me a prayer about putting the four angels, the four archangels, even though there's more than four, but on all corners of the property, and having them protect you about it, and I don't know if she held down that because she has a lot of, like my little brother who's passed away, roams through her house at night. And she's like, "Yeah, I saw your brother the other night. He was walking around, draped in all white with his white veil on." And I'm like, dude, I don't get that. Because
I don't get that.
because I told him, you better not. You better not. You stay the hell away. I'll see you
your
later.
ass over there. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to visitations if see, my thing is I don't know if it's really them.
That's the gig.
That's what worries me. Is like I would like to think I could feel the energy and realize that, but you don't
Right.
always. You're startled because hell, I didn't expect to see that.
Right.
But
And
it's not
also,
always the right vibration, and that's like
yeah.
that freaks me out. You
And
know,
also, it's gonna want to come to you at, you know, it's gonna want to come to you at a point that you want it to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's like I used to always, I still do, believe that, you know, Lucifer or the Hasatan was an angel. He's,
hmm
and just like anything, think of, I mean, think of Freddy freaking Krueger, right? Like it comes to you at first as something nice, like, hey, come on, let me show you this. The little girls, the
oh
one,
yeah,
two, three,
yeah,
and you go, oh no, hey little girl, what do you
it's
need? And
disarming.
then,
Yeah.
rah, because it's not gonna, if it scares you at first, then you already are running away from it.
Right.
If it enchants you and it makes you feel comfortable and and it beckons you, in a comfortable manner, then you're gonna go, okay, and
Well, yeah, you
then
let your guard down and you let it
yeah,
in, right?
right,
And
exactly,
yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. And I got off on. I don't know if I was talking to you or who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody where I was like, like I can go down a lot of I can go down a lot of rabbit holes with that because I mean, truthfully, right? When Lucifer was cast down, he didn't have horns and a tail.
right,
He doesn't
absolutely,
look like that. He didn't grow horns and a tail until the Crusades, right?
right,
And that was them just adopting things to scare people. He
mhm,
doesn't look like that.
right,
And, you know, then you get into, true angels, descriptions of true angels are terrifying. They are
terrifying, yeah,
terrifying. Like,
terrifying,
and they have no free will, right? That from what I understand, now I could be wrong, but my understanding is like little to no free will. They're told to do something. That's what they do.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Their existence is the worship of God,
Yeah. And if God's like, smite that person, sorry,
right.
bro. You know?
Right.
And
Well, yeah, because I mean that's even in the New Testament, which I wholeheartedly believe in a lot more than some of the things in the Old Testament, which kind of just made me go, wait a minute, what the hell? But that's just me. But it's the first thing that angels tell people is fear not. Like, calm down, don't get scared. I know I look freaky,
like you're
you
not
know. Yeah, because
kicking off God, we're good.
yeah, because you're talking about beings that have, four different faces, of animal and human
Yeah, and they're 9 feet taller.
and
They're just like spheres with nothing but eyes everywhere.
ears and eyeballs. Yeah,
Terrifying.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
9 feet tall and their skin is like fire. I mean,
Right.
I'm
So
good.
I would, it's kind of like a mafia thing, like I'd rather someone come up to me and go, look, I know I'm scary as hell, but I'm just trying to talk to you here. Other than someone going, no, we're good. Come on in. It's gonna
Right.
be awesome.
Everything's
No,
awesome.
yeah.
So that
Okay.
that thinking, right? So the thinking of it's going to come at you very innocent. It's going to come at you looking real good. It's going to come at you promising you all this awesome stuff, right? So if I go down that rabbit hole, I will land on organized religion,
Hmm.
not for God.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It is not. That is
Dude.
not.
Yeah.
And I mean, just going down that particular rabbit hole, because what's it going to do? It's promising you what you want to hear. It's promising you not that there isn't this, but oh, if you do this, you'll have eternal salvation. If you do this, you'll go to heaven, and all the good things are there waiting for you. Yeah.
No, some of the worst.
That sounds pretty tempting, and that's what a lot of people are wanting to follow. But is that really like? Anyway, it's a rabbit hole that my head goes down. I am not saying.
Yep.
That.
No, it's true. Some of the worst decisions I ever made were groupies, and it's because they were hot. And then I'm like, dude, what did I get myself into?
Right?
No, please get me out of it.
So yeah, I can. It comes at you looking like everything you want, and I can convince myself of some stuff, thinking like, I think too hard. Don't think too hard, Monica. So, okay, we've been on for almost 2 hours.
2 hours.
Good golly, Miss Molly. All right, we've been on for a long time.
Cheese and crackers.
Cheese and rice. Jiminy Cricket, that was a long time.
Jesus H. Cribbis.
So, yeah, I got cheese and rice from what? From a movie. I got that from the movie Just Married.
Oh, I remember that.
I love that movie. It's so funny to me. That movie is so funny to me. But she never curses, and she's always like, cheese and rice.
Right. Oh, dude, one of the funniest ones, and I know you remember this one, was that it was a commercial where there's the two chicks arguing, and they use like everything but curse words. I forgot how it goes exactly, but she's like, dang it, I can't believe it's slipping my nugget. But it's like the two chicks and they're arguing, and she's like, you cootie cleaner, you cootie liquor.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that one? Yeah, that was great.
What's my other way? Googly boogly. And I'll say sweet Jeebus. I'll say Jeebus.
Oh, it was you lit liquor.
You lit liquor.
You lit liquor.
I remember that. I do. That's so funny. Okay. So everybody, we're going to call it a night. So it is almost 2 hours. We're like a minute and a half short of being on for 2 hours. So it was fun and it went by real fast. And hopefully you enjoyed my tales of X, and then Joe and I just kicking it, talking about Kubrick and all kinds of stuff.
That's
why angels are terrifying. And so even though we're signing off tonight, Joe and I are going to be back on tomorrow night over on Joe's channel, which is the Breezy Speakeasy. So if you go to my description in YouTube, I have the name of his channel linked down there. So make sure you all tune in tomorrow and subscribe to him so you get the notification of when we go live, because tomorrow Joe and I are going to be talking about all things 80s, all the 80s, like what it was like to live back then, what feral Gen X kids did back in the day, all of the horror movies and why they're better, and the music and why it is definitely better. So tune in. So Joe, you want to sign off and tell everybody all the good deets about your page?
Yeah. We're going to be doing that one. We're going to have Richard Woody on as well. He, like I was saying earlier, he's from the same generation. We're just going to kick it, have fun. I convinced Monica. I was like, you got to put some snake bite in your coffee. So put a shot or two in your coffee mug.
So I will have had some shots tomorrow night when we go on.
But yeah, we're just going to keep it loosey-goosey, and we're just going to have fun. And we're probably going to go on, I'd say about 9-ish. I get home about 8:30. So just enough time to fill my fridge full of Budweisers and pour myself some.
Whenever you want, I am open all night. So whenever you want to go on, I'll put it over on my Facebook page. I'll advertise it over on probably not my personal page that everybody keeps trying to friend me on. It will be on Our Paranormal World Facebook page.
Jen might be going on Mickey G. I'm not sure. She's a little camera shy, but hopefully I'll get her on. She's not a Gen Xer. She's a millennial. She's
a youngin'.
Yeah, she was born in 87. So
I'm older than Joe. I'm even more Gen X than Joe is. I'm like smack. I was born smack in the middle of that Gen X like date range. I was literally like smack in the middle of it.
Yeah, because you were probably in a senior when I was probably a freshman or close.
What year did you graduate?
I didn't graduate. So.
What year would you have graduated?
I have no clue. I was held back so much. But I was born in 78. So
you're 5 years younger than me. So 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you would have been a year before your freshman that I graduated.
Yeah. But we're gonna just have a blast and hang out. We'll probably go on around 9-ish. Probably do the same as tonight, go on for a couple hours, if that, until everybody's like either sold out of stories or wanting to get off and get to bed.
Or my ceiling caves in the middle of
it. Or your ceiling caves in.
This is freaking me out, y'all. Like, I am not going in that god dang attic. I ain't going in the attic.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna pay you pay for like the insurance stuff, but they're gonna charge somebody a bunch just to put a wire hanger down in that drain hole and be like, all right, it's clear.
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is call my HVAC guy in the morning and be like, how do I unclog a residential like at home? Like, give me the at home.
Yeah,
stuff.
He's gonna say,
and
go in the attic.
Be like, where do you live? I'll just send somebody to you. And I'll be like, I live an hour north of Dallas. Just tell me how to do it.
Right. And he'll say, go in the attic. And you're going to be like, hell no.
Well, I got to go in the attic. Apparently, this is some. I mean, I wish I could like turn the camera and you could see it. Like, it is like 3 feet by 2 feet. Like,
oh, that's not too bad.
Whoa.
Well,
and of course, it's disgusting brown looking.
Yeah.
So at least
it's no, that's the gig is the mold crap. You'll have to just get that. But they'll take care of
that. All right.
You'll be all right. You'll be all
right. I know.
I'm praying for you.
But I ain't going in the attic. No. All right, y'all.
All right, y'all. Well, to everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in to Monica's channel. I truly appreciate it because she's my homegirl, and any likes and views she's got, remember to smash the like, subscribe, and notification bell. And God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank you for joining, and keep looking for the truth because it's out there. The truth is out there, and I want to believe. And go to Joe Breezy's channel. If you haven't done it already, you're missing out. Now, it doesn't go on the regular, but when he does go on, it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. So go over to the Breezy Speakeasy, hit subscribe and hit the bell. And we'll see y'all tomorrow night when we go live to talk about all the feral goodness of the 80s. Night, y'all.